Welcome to The Gathering Place, where we ruminate on topics related to tourism, trails guiding, and the conservation of wild spaces.
If someone was to ask you now, what do you do? Like, how would you describe your career and your vocation, maybe?
Yeah, I guess the generic term would be a guide, but there's just so many subtle nuances when it comes to guiding. And if I had to try and directly label what it is that I attempt to do, is to facilitate an experience of self-discovery for people with nature as a medium or a facilitator. So just by spending time in nature and in the bush, engaging with all your senses will open doors not only to discovering the beauty and the magic of nature, but also an internal wilderness and the magic that happens when there's a synchronicity between the internal and the external exploration. So that, I guess, in a nutshell, is what I would attempt.
I think that's an explanation that you wouldn't hear from someone who's only been in the industry for a couple of years. That sort of explanation is fostered over years of experience and seeing what works and what doesn't, and what moves people. I think often if you ask a guide the sort of nature or objective of their job, it's often got to do with education and information, and it's just something that's it just seems like that's where all the focus is, on information, and it's a huge part that is lacking in the industry. I see is that the objective being facilitating a connection as opposed to explaining things to people. And
I think I was actually just yesterday for the first time being able to articulate this aspect, and the way that I see it, and it's still a work in progress, but there is information, which is a very sort of hyped aspect of guiding. Information leads to knowledge, another thing which gets promoted and showcased, but what is that in service of? And I feel that those two, the information will translate into knowledge, but that's not the end goal. That should then further be processed and translated into wisdom. And that is the aspect which I think might be the end goal. The end goal, because wisdom, information and knowledge should inform wisdom, and wisdom will ultimately lead to let's call it a better life. To pursue joy, to pursue connection, not only with other people, but with everything around you. And in a fact that if there is no other person around, that you can find the same communal connection with that dead marula tree that you would with someone else. And the sense that we are all interconnected, in a way.